Hey everybody, welcome back to Rugby Wrap-Up, brought to you by the Friends of the British Council. Matt McCarthy here at the Studio 34 Fantasy Sports Network on 35th Street in New York City at the Renaissance Hotel, built into Rock and Riley's. I have the pleasure of being here with some big names in rugby, including Mr. Dan Lyle, the Director of Rugby at AEG Rugby, Mr. Peter Forsman of the New York Rugby Business Network, and Elite Sevens coach, Mr. Stephen Lewis. Gentlemen, we have a huge week ahead of us here in New York and in Philadelphia for rugby. And welcome.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Dano, let's get right to you because
yes, sir.
You, sir, have a lot on your hands this week. You've got the huge match, Saracens versus Newcastle. I should say Newcastle versus Saracens because Newcastle's the home team, and it's at Talon Energy Stadium in Philadelphia, big time. NBC Sports is going to show the match. You've got your hands full as the director of rugby at AEG Rugby. Give us the skinny on what an American fan can expect.
Well, it's been pretty exciting. You know, when the teams turn up, I think like every coach or every administrator, it's when the fun starts. And we've got some really cool things that the teams are doing, as well as all the owners of all the clubs that are here. This is truly a long-term strategy to build the value of the Premiership and using their network to support the game in America. But getting in the elevator with Itoje and Farrell, Vunipola, and Chris Wiles and Brad Barrett this morning, they were talking everything from college football, because some of them were going to go to the Temple game on Friday, to Chris Wiles being nervous about throwing out the first pitch with the Phillies on Wednesday, to the Newcastle versus Saracens cheesesteak eat-a-thon that's going to happen on Thursday. So you got to have a really good sense that this is pretty exciting for all of us, by just that really good snapshot that they're excited and we're excited for that it's event week.
Stephen, there's some serious players. There's 5 Lions, right? 5 or 6 Lions just on the Saracens. You're coaching with the All-Americans, not in this particular setup. You were the Sevens coach for the All-Americans. They're facing Oxford. Are there specific players that you tell these guys to watch out for? Because it's a dynamite opportunity.
Yeah, not specific players. I mean, there's just so much talent across the board in both teams, so pretty much every position. And these are 2 top English clubs, but they're really international clubs. You know, they're stock full of guys, different countries: South Africa, Scotland, England, Fiji, Samoa. So for a young player, you know, you could watch any one of 30 or 42 players that are on the field this weekend and learn something. So it's a fantastic opportunity for young American players.
Dan, Chris Wiles just retired from international play. He was captain of Team USA during the last Rugby World Cup. He continues to play at a high level for Saracens. He's got his Wolfpack lager. He's a dynamite guy. But Jamie George, his teammate, interviewed him this week, and Chris didn't close the door completely on playing as a 36-year-old wing for Team USA in the Rugby World Cup. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think we've got so many people that come out of retirement, and because they still catch the bug. But Chris is a unbelievably great ambassador. We last year on NBC Sports we call him the Swiss Army knife for the Saracens, because he can slot into any position and he gets the job done wherever he goes. He'll have a great career. With the Saracens, or even if he comes back. So I wouldn't put anything past him. Great player, great ambassador, and a long-serving guy. And he's going to help American rugby, probably more now that he's had all these experiences, and despite a tremendous 50 cap plus career.
Now I don't have the lineups in front of me because they haven't been released yet, but. You got potentially Wiles and Nick Civetta playing against each other. TT Lamosatelli's out with an injury, as far as I know. But these guys are playing on American soil, regular season match. You played a long time. You had a stellar career with Bath. How cool would it be to play with Bath in Philly in a regular season match?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Lewis likes to remind me I played in the black and white era of television and pre-internet, and all that kind of stuff. So, my these guys are excited to be here. The conversation in the getting coffee this morning or talking to them is about what is America like? What do they see? I mean, they're at the University of Pennsylvania training today, and in their weight room, and the University of Pennsylvania weight room, for example, is 20 squat racks, everything that you can imagine, and so forth. But you give them a sense that that's a D3 school versus a D1 school, in by way of Penn State right up the road and all that kind of stuff. They're absorbing and learning all this stuff. So it's really truly an experience for everybody, and certainly would I've loved to bring my teammates over and show them kind of what I grew up with and how I emerged as an athlete. Absolutely, but this is the way for the Americans audience to see them up close and personal, and for them to see what goes on over here. And so it's a true win-win for everybody.
All right, now I want to put you guys on the spot. I want to get to predictions, but first, Dan and Steve, I want you to both give me some players that American fans might be able to identify with most in terms of like what we're used to watching: NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA. Who do you think would catch the eye of somebody first? Dan.
I'll pick three. I think that DTH Vandermeer, who's the Canadian captain that plays for Newcastle, is a big, tall, strong athlete that plays every time he gets on the field for his country or for Newcastle, he scores tries. I love Owen Farrell. That's the quarterback point guard conversation for Americans. He is a class, and he came on right in the second half versus Bath last week, and even though they lost that game through some magic through Rockagaguni, he is just a step above, I think, almost any fly-F in the world right now. And then Itoje, the big, tall second-row, back row for Saracens, England, and the British Lions, looks like a defensive end, 6'6", 265, 270, and kind of gallops and lopes and does things that are overly impressive for an athlete. Feels like that power forward and DN all linked together. So those three are three to watch out for.
Stephen?
Yeah, to add to that, probably Vunipola brothers. Mac and Billy are both a real handful on the ball, and so that their kind of sort of belligerent, aggressive running style will appeal to Americans. And actually, I think both Saracens hookers, Jamie George and Scout Brits, are both pretty entertaining to watch and sort of belie the position they play in terms of the skill they have, footwork, handling, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and just the fact that the two of them are on the same roster is just incredible.
It's great if you're Mark McCall.
Yeah. Peter Forsman, we're not going to ask you that question because we're out of time in this segment, but we'll be right back with more Premiership Rugby talk with Dan Lyle, Peter Forsman, and Stephen Lewis right after this.
If you're just joining us, this is a big match and a big moment as Clijsters toes the line.
John, Anderson has really been struggling out there today. Mistake as Clijsters clinches another title. Don't let your nutrition get in the way. USANA, the official multivitamin of the WTA.
All right, everybody, how's it going? We sip, we peel, and we slide. Nah, like this. We sip, we peel, we win.
I think I'm getting this.
Grab a large or extra large freshly ground, freshly brewed hot coffee for your chance to win great prizes like free coffee for a year. Get your celebration ready. Dunkin' Donuts. This is coffee. This is winning.
The world's top professional rugby competition is bringing excitement to Philadelphia this September with English Premiership Rugby's American Series. Come experience current European champions Saracens taking on Newcastle Falcons at Talon Energy Stadium on September 16. Tickets are on sale now for the inaugural match of English Premiership Rugby's American Series at www.spectratix.com.
Hey everybody, we're back. Matt McCarthy and Dan Lyle and Peter Forsman and Steve Lewis at the Fantasy Sports Network Studio 34 here on West 35th Street in New York City. And we're talking rugby, and we're specifically talking professional rugby being played on a high level on the American soil in Philadelphia. We left off with some key players to watch for an American audience, but now we're going to talk a little bit about strategies and the coaching staff. Dan, different styles a little bit. What do you see as the strategies for each team and how they can offset each other?
Well, I think with Newcastle, Dean Richards has built a squad of attractive rugby players, meaning not just good looking, but from a sense that they're able to play the ball through their hands and advance the ball up the field through running the ball, kicking the ball, and having he's really been arming their tool belt full of things and giving them that level of confidence that he wants them to play. A little bit different than when he was at Leicester, when they started with the basics of the pack and then drove the ball out of that conversation. So I think they want to play an open game. They want to spread the ball as much as they can and still do the hard yards. And in contrast, Saracens, they are literally the all-skills team of the Premiership. They have an ability to put pressure on you in transition moments of your mistakes or in different parts of the field to be able to pull the tricks out of the bag that nobody else can. They teach each individual and use each individual's strengths the best they possibly can, and have built a squad that can operate within those conditions. And so they are a very, very, very attractive team to watch, and how they are able to put pressure on you with their kick game, with their ball handling game, and in the tight, truly an all skills team. And Newcastle will have their hands full, but have the ability to make this a good game.
And there's a lot of alliteration on the Newcastle squad. You got Will Whitty, you got Will Welch, you got Sam Stewart, you got Callum Chick. I don't know if that's going to work into the strategy for the coaches, but you're a coach on a high level. What do you see about the coaches here?
Well, you got Saracens as Mark McCall. So, obviously McCall and Richards, two extremely experienced coaches now in the Premiership. Different size of checkbook, so McCall's obviously had more success, a couple of European championships, what have you. It really echo everything Dan said about the Saracens have got weapons in every drawer. There's just no weakness in that team. So I consider them highly favoured. But confidence is an interesting thing, and this is the best start Newcastle have had in a while. Scraped a win against Sale, good win against Worcester opening day, and confidence for players. This is a big occasion. They keep a roll going. It's a good thing. Saracens, by contrast, good opening day win against Northampton, and then they lost to Bath at the weekend with some Fijian flair right towards the end. So interesting. I mean, you would still have to go with Saracens, in my opinion, pretty heavily. So my prediction will be, and I'll give you it right now, is Saracens 41, Newcastle 13.
Peter?
I'd have to go along with Steve Lewis on the fact that Saracens, I think, are going to be the better team on the field on Saturday. And my prediction is more along, I think it's going to be a little bit of a tighter match. Saracens 35, the Falcons 24.
So it's not going to be the blowout that Old Blue put on the New York Athletic Club this weekend.
It's funny you should bring that up, Peter.
Because these guys, folks, for the folks at home, you got an Old Blue guy here and a New York Athletic Club guy here, and I have them sitting in front of my New York Rugby Club corner, which is just making me happy because I hate that. You do little things. All right, so you're good with that, I think. Dan, what do you got? Prediction.
Yeah, well, I have to remain the neutral up until maybe pre-game with NBC, where I think I'll wait till the rosters come out. I think obviously Saracens being 1-4 in the Premiership in the last 5 games, yes, they put a European Championship on the board in the middle of that run, but I think they're finding themselves in this new season, just like they did at the beginning of last season. They have all the tools to be able to put a score line like Steve says out there. But it'll be I like the contrast of these two teams for the American audience to be able to see
he's not answering.
You're not
going to do it. You're not going to do it, are you?
It's a talk show. You're supposed to talk.
No. I think obviously Saracens are favorite, but I'm not going to put the Vegas line of over under for you right now. I'm going to wait until I see the roster and try to remain a little bit of.
I think it's going to be kind of like what Mayweather and McGregor did. I think Saracens is going to win this one, but they're going to make it tight. They're going to make it uncomfortable for Saracens fans, kind of the way they did with the London Irish last year, right? So, but I think Lord Wiles.
So I think this is going to be a legitimate sporting contest.
Absolutely,
that's a contrast to make with the McGregor.
The score might not be indicative at the end of how tight this match is in spurts, and I think Saracens is going to win. I think Saracens is going to win 26-18. 26-18. Lord Wiles, I would not bet against your team because I know that you're going to buy me a Wolfpack lager for this. Let's segue now into the other cool match of the day there. You've got the All-Americans versus Oxford. Steve, tell us who the All-Americans are and the difference between light blue, dark blue, and the blues.
Yeah, but this is a fantastic curtain raiser for the Premiership game to have two sides like this. The Collegiate All-Americans, as the name would suggest, are the cream of the crop, the best American college players. So essentially 18 to 23. Oxford University, by contrast, are a sort of storied club. I think founded 1869. They contest the varsity match every year with Cambridge. Oxford are the dark blues, Cambridge are the light blues. Varsity match has been going since 1872 and was one of the biggest fixtures on the sort of English sporting calendar. It's somewhat diminished now in importance with professional rugby over the last 20 years, but it used to be a marquee fixture. Oxford, by contrast, they used to be heavily sort of grad students and older, but that seems to be changing. So Oxford will have, they used to produce international players aplenty, Cambridge and Oxford. That's diminished as well, but there are still going to be 4 or 5 guys in the Oxford team with professional experience who are top players. So as a curtain raiser, it's ideal for an American audience.
Awesome. So we are basically out of time, unfortunately, because this stuff flies by. But Dan, I want to give you the final word because this is basically your baby in a lot of ways. You've done a lot of work. You've done a lot of good work to get this thing off the ground. So a couple of final words on the match or the weekend.
Yeah, well, the match is part of an overall conversation, right? This is about the American Series, which is a multi-year effort to connect the English Premiership and American and USA Rugby. So all the development opportunities that we've done, the camps, the clinics, the scholarships that'll be awarded for the boys and girls and coaches afterwards, and this match being the first of many moving forward. We're going to learn and develop this property and this partnership together with the community up and down the Eastern Seaboard to start off with, and go into the rest of the U.S. So really excited that this first match is happening. It's event week, and we're almost to the finish line of the first week. But this is where it all really starts. The other 300 days of the year, we're really going to focus on development strategies and tactics for these clubs and the Premiership to grow, and thereby helping the American population of participants and fans and coaches to grow as well. So really excited that this is the beginning of a long-term place for Americans and Premiership to marry together to grow the game.
Excellent. And it is, I misspoke when I said match because it is a whole event. The Premiership does this community activation. They get everybody involved. They've really cool stuff, and it's great to have this on the horizon now and right in our backyard. Kudos to you. Kudos to AEG, the Premiership, and the Friends of the British Council. And on behalf of Mr. Dan Lyle, Mr. Peter Forsberg, and Mr. Stephen Lewis, Matt McCarthy from the Fantasy Sports Network, Studio 34 at Rock and Riley's in the Renaissance Hotel, signing off.